The question is, can the Ugandan army take over? We'll come back to that. But first, something significant happened on Sunday, May 25th, 2025. Muhoozi Kainerugaba, the head of the Ugandan army, and notably, the son of President Yoweri Museveni, publicly expressed his support for President Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso. Posting on his official account on the social network X, Muhoozi praised Traoré's anti-imperialist stance. In his words, "I support the anti-imperialist position of President Ibrahim Traoré. His views are like ours. It is always right to resist imperialists and exploiters. I invite him to visit Uganda."
In a stunning shift that's sending shockwaves across Africa, Uganda's army chief has publicly expressed support for Burkina Faso's revolutionary leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. With rising tensions in Uganda and growing frustration toward entrenched political elites, many are asking, is a coup on the horizon? Traoré's bold, anti-imperialist stance and his refusal to bow to Western pressure have made him a symbol of African resistance. And now, it looks like that fire is spreading. This is more than diplomacy. It's a possible alliance that could change the power balance across the continent. Is Uganda next to follow the Traoré path?
1960s and 1970s, Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni was a young rebel leader who played a key role in overthrowing the repressive regimes of Idi Amin and Milton Obote. In 1986, he seized power and delivered a now famous statement. "The problem of Africa in general, and Uganda in particular, is not the people, but leaders who want to overstay in power." Yet more than 36 years later, Museveni remains in power.
The Ugandan Army Chief's endorsement, a game changer in East African politics. The recent endorsement of Captain Ibrahim Traoré by Uganda's Army Chief has sent ripples through East Africa's political landscape, signaling a potential shift in regional alliances and power dynamics. Traoré, celebrated for his assertive leadership in Burkina Faso, has gained recognition for his firm stance on sovereignty and anti-imperialism. Uganda's military support highlights a growing alignment among African leaders advocating for a self-reliant continent free from external domination. This strategic endorsement suggests a shared vision that emphasizes African-led solutions to common challenges, such as regional insecurity and economic dependency. By supporting Traoré, Uganda is echoing a broader continental sentiment that favors independence over foreign aid and influence. The move also reflects a rising trend where African nations look inward for leadership models and policy inspiration. Crucially, this endorsement could foreshadow political reforms within Uganda itself, possibly drawing from Traoré's governance style marked by decisive action and nationalistic ideals. It signals not just admiration, but a deeper ideological shift, one that prioritizes unity, empowerment, and indigenous frameworks. As other regional powers observe Uganda's alignment with Traoré, this development may trigger a re-evaluation of diplomatic ties and strategic partnerships across Africa. The Army Chief's gesture stands as more than symbolic. It is a rallying cry for African solidarity and transformation. Ultimately, this could mark the beginning of a new era where African nations boldly support each other's paths toward autonomy, dignity, and progress. Traoré's vision, a blueprint for African sovereignty.
The citizen vigilance that you have engaged is a message to all of Africa. And Burkina Faso is in solidarity and supports all the peoples of Africa who suffer martyrdom. But we also want to say that it is time for Africans to stop pitying themselves, to stop moping, to stop lamenting. You have to fight. It will not come from heaven alone. You have to fight first, and God will help you.
Captain Ibrahim Traoré's leadership in Burkina Faso is defined by an unwavering commitment to national sovereignty and self-determination. His administration champions economic independence through the nationalization of key industries and the rejection of conditional foreign aid. This bold approach has resonated across Africa, especially among nations striving to break free from dependency on Western institutions. By prioritizing local resources and talent, Traoré seeks to build a resilient economy that serves the interests of the Burkinabe people. His model challenges the conventional reliance on international financial bodies and proposes a development path rooted in African values, needs, and priorities. Traoré's vision goes beyond economics. It represents a broader cultural and ideological renaissance focused on reclaiming African identity and pride. His policies emphasize investment in education, healthcare, and infrastructure, reflecting a holistic approach to nation building. Traoré's leadership inspires a new wave of thinking, where African solutions are placed at the forefront of African progress. The recent endorsement of Traoré by Uganda's Army Chief suggests a powerful ideological alignment. It indicates a shared desire among African leaders to promote autonomy, resist external control, and support each other's pursuit of sovereignty. As more leaders across the continent look to Traoré's blueprint, a continental movement toward unity and self-reliance may be taking shape. His governance model offers a compelling framework for African nations determined to reclaim their agency and shape their own futures on their own terms. The ripple effect, regional implications of Uganda's support.
Traoré has significant public support, especially among young people and rural residents who feel involved in the national development agenda. They see him as a symbol of resistance to modern colonialism and a leader who dares to challenge the status quo for real change. On the other hand, economic challenges continue to loom, with inflation, shortages of basic goods, and the lack of foreign investment being major obstacles to the sustainability of the reforms being carried out.
Uganda's endorsement of Captain Ibrahim Traoré carries significant implications for regional politics in East Africa. This move could inspire neighboring countries to reconsider their alliances and governance models. Traoré's emphasis on self-reliance and anti-imperialism may resonate with leaders and populations disillusioned with the status quo. The potential for a domino effect exists, where other nations adopt similar policies aimed at reducing foreign influence and fostering indigenous development. Such a shift could lead to the formation of new regional blocs centered around shared values and objectives. Moreover, Uganda's support may embolden opposition movements in countries grappling with authoritarianism or external meddling. The endorsement signals a willingness among African militaries and governments to support transformative leadership that prioritizes the continent's interests. This trend could redefine power structures and diplomatic relations within the region. However, it also raises concerns about potential tensions with traditional allies and international organizations. Balancing these dynamics will be crucial as East Africa navigates this evolving political landscape. Ultimately, Uganda's backing of Traoré may serve as a catalyst for broader regional change, challenging existing paradigms and promoting a more self-determined Africa. Youth empowerment, Traoré's appeal to a new generation.
Why is not only the people, the youth in his own country, Burkina Faso, regarding him as a Messiah, but it's also the larger youth and public all across African countries which are looking at him as a savior. See, the first thing that you need to know is that he is a very young military captain, and he came to power in 2022. But before that, he was part of the UN peacekeeping force in Mali, and he was also sent by his government to deal with terrorism in the north of the country.
Captain Ibrahim Traoré's rise to power represents a significant shift in African leadership, characterized by youth empowerment and a break from traditional political norms. As one of the youngest heads of state on the continent, Traoré embodies the aspirations of a new generation seeking meaningful change. His leadership style, marked by transparency, accountability, and a focus on grassroots development, resonates with young Africans disillusioned by decades of stagnation and corruption. Traoré's policies prioritize education, job creation, and technological innovation, addressing the pressing concerns of the youth demographic. By involving young people in governance and decision-making processes, he fosters a sense of ownership and responsibility among the populace. This inclusive approach not only strengthens democratic institutions, but also ensures that policies reflect the needs and aspirations of the broader society. The Ugandan Army Chief's support for Traoré may signal a recognition of the importance of youth-led leadership in driving progress. As more young leaders emerge across Africa, inspired by Traoré's example, the continent could witness a renaissance of innovation, civic engagement, and sustainable development. This generational shift holds the promise of revitalizing African politics and forging a future defined by opportunity and empowerment. Economic transformation. Traoré's path to prosperity.
Structural development programs typically pushed African countries to focus on cash crops for export, creating nations that grow what they don't eat and eat what they don't grow. Traoré flipped these nations by 1. Distributing tractors and seeds to local farmers, 2. Building processing plants for crops like cotton and tomatoes, and 3. Investing in local food production to reduce import dependency. When people can feed themselves, they have achieved the most fundamental form of sovereignty.
Under Captain Ibrahim Traoré's leadership, Burkina Faso has embarked on a path of economic transformation aimed at achieving self-sufficiency and sustainable growth. By nationalizing key industries and investing in local production, Traoré seeks to reduce dependency on foreign aid and create a resilient economy. His administration has prioritized sectors such as agriculture, mining, and manufacturing, recognizing their potential to generate employment and drive development. Initiatives like the establishment of a national gold refinery and support for artisanal cotton processing demonstrate a commitment to value addition and industrialization. These efforts not only boost domestic revenues, but also empower local communities by providing opportunities for entrepreneurship and skill development. Traoré's rejection of conditional loans from international financial institutions underscores his determination to chart an independent economic course. This approach challenges the prevailing narrative that African nations must rely on external assistance for growth. The Ugandan Army Chief's endorsement of Traoré may reflect an appreciation for this model of economic sovereignty. As other African countries observe Burkina Faso's progress, they may be inspired to adopt similar strategies, fostering a continental movement towards self-reliant development. Traoré's economic policies offer a blueprint for prosperity rooted in African resources, talent, and ingenuity. Security and stability. Traoré's approach to national defense.
He encouraged villagers to form defense groups, small teams of locals who knew the land better than anyone. These weren't professional soldiers. They were farmers, shopkeepers, and parents who wanted to protect their families. The military provided them with training and basic equipment, but the courage? That came from within. And these groups made a huge difference. They worked hand in hand with the army, sharing information and defending their communities. In some cases, they even pushed back against extremists before the military arrived. What's even more incredible is how this brought people together.
Captain Ibrahim Traoré has implemented a comprehensive strategy to enhance security and stability in Burkina Faso, addressing both internal and external threats. Recognizing the importance of a robust defense system, his administration has focused on strengthening the military and involving local communities in security efforts. The expansion of the Volunteers for the Defense of the Homeland, VDP, exemplifies this approach, mobilizing citizens to participate in safeguarding their regions. This inclusive model fosters a sense of collective responsibility and resilience against insurgent activities. Traoré's emphasis on intelligence gathering, border control, and counterterrorism operations has yielded tangible results in curbing violence and restoring order. Moreover, his policies address the root causes of insecurity, such as poverty and marginalization, through socio-economic development programs. The Ugandan Army Chief's support for Traoré may be influenced by these effective security measures, viewing them as a model for regional stability. As African nations grapple with similar challenges, Traoré's holistic approach offers valuable insights into building secure and cohesive societies. By prioritizing both defense capabilities and community engagement, his leadership sets a precedent for sustainable peace and development across the continent. Cultural Renaissance. Reviving African Identity under Traoré. Captain Ibrahim Traoré's tenure has been marked by a cultural renaissance aimed at reviving and celebrating African identity. His administration emphasizes the importance of cultural heritage in nation-building and societal cohesion. Initiatives promoting local languages, traditional arts, and indigenous knowledge systems have been implemented to preserve and promote Burkina Faso's rich cultural tapestry. Traoré's policies encourage the integration of cultural education in schools, fostering pride and awareness among the youth. By supporting cultural festivals and community events, his government strengthens social bonds and national unity. This cultural revival also serves as a form of resistance against cultural imperialism, asserting the value and dignity of African traditions. The Ugandan Army Chief's endorsement of Traoré may reflect an appreciation for this emphasis on cultural empowerment. As African nations seek to reclaim their narratives and assert their identities, Traoré's approach offers a model for cultural renaissance. By intertwining cultural preservation with development strategies, his leadership underscores the role of heritage in shaping a resilient and self-assured society. This cultural resurgence not only enriches national life, but also contributes to a broader continental movement towards decolonization and self-definition. Pan-African solidarity, Traoré's role in uniting the continent. Captain Ibrahim Traoré has emerged as a prominent symbol of Pan-African unity, advocating for a continent free from neo-colonial influence and driven by cooperation among African nations. His frequent calls for solidarity, mutual defense, and economic partnerships resonate with leaders and citizens yearning for a stronger, more interconnected Africa. Traoré's emphasis on building strategic alliances with like-minded governments such as Mali, Niger, and Guinea has laid the foundation for what some analysts call a new era of African multilateralism. These alliances prioritize regional security, shared resource management, and continental infrastructure development without reliance on Western powers. Uganda's Army Chief expressing support for Traoré is a pivotal sign that East Africa may now be looking westward, not to foreign capitals, but to fellow African revolutionaries. This endorsement could act as a catalyst for broader continental initiatives, including the revival of African-centered institutions and the strengthening of the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA. Traoré's rhetoric often invokes the legacies of revolutionary African figures like Thomas Sankara, Kwame Nkrumah, and Patrice Lumumba, leaders who envisioned a united, self-sufficient Africa. In this tradition, Traoré calls not just for independence, but for interdependence among African nations. By fostering cross-border cooperation in education, defense, agriculture, and technology, Traoré's Pan-African vision extends beyond symbolic gestures. It lays the groundwork for tangible, people-centered integration. His leadership serves as a rallying point for Africans frustrated with decades of fragmented development strategies imposed by former colonial powers. Uganda's alignment with this vision is more than military symbolism. It signals a new diplomatic chapter where African nations turn to each other as primary partners. If this movement gains traction, it could usher in the most significant shift in African geopolitics since the post-independence era, a self-organized continental bloc rooted in shared struggle, shared values, and a shared future. As Captain Traoré's influence continues to grow, his message of African self-reliance and defiance against foreign control is gaining powerful allies. The Ugandan Army Chief's backing isn't just symbolic, it's a bold statement that could mark the beginning of a continental shift. While critics warn of instability, millions see hope, a future free from exploitation. If Uganda follows Burkina Faso's footsteps, it could ignite a new wave of leadership across Africa. One thing is certain, the age of silent obedience is over. And as Ibrahim Traoré leads the charge, the continent watches, and many are ready to rise.